Hello, welcome viewers. My name is Beatriz, and here we are on Ongoing Changes. And I have the privilege of welcoming Lauren from Beyond Healing, who's going to join us today. And we're going to be weaving all sorts of magic. The best person to actually introduce herself is Lauren herself. She's an amazing person. Please, Lauren, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Gladly. Thank you so much for having me. So I primarily in this space am a evolutionary astrologer, and we'll of course talk a lot more about what that means, but essentially looking at the different ways of our life journey and our own interbeing that are designed to help us grow. And often those ways of getting there are challenging, hence the evolutionary element of it all because no pain, no gain is really the motto here. The work that I do is focusing a lot on those moments of change, transformation, the death and rebirth cycle, which I'm very much moving through myself, which we'll also speak about in a bit. So yeah, I'm so honored to have connected with you at this time. It's truly divine. Divine timing is so real. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So thank you. Namaste. And
Oh, thank you. I mean, life just throws us into so much chaos, and out of it we're like a lotus. We come out of the muck into this beautiful flower. Having a yoga background, I can understand a lot of the teachings from it, but there are also so many books, and there's only, you know
modalities
so
and
much time.
yeah, for sure. Especially in well, any philosophy, but yeah, there's a lot of different paths.
Yeah, and there are, and they're just, when you come across them, it's at the right time. I remember one time I was looking through a whole lot of books, debating whether I should be doing this or should be doing that. And a book fell literally off the shelf really high up. There was no one else in the bookstore,
Wow.
and it was about Chinese medicine. And I thought,
Yeah,
okay,
so
and here
cool.
I am.
Yeah, that's this tattoo that I have actually. It's an I Ching hexagram on, I don't know if I told you that
Mm.
before, but it's two parts right here, and it's on an acupuncture meridian. It's a healing tattoo, and it really worked. So I'm all about that. Wisdom tradition. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And we're such complex beings, and we
Hmm.
make it more complex than what it needs to be.
Definitely.
And therefore, being our authentic self is really what the aim is.
Uh,
Like, we grow the first 7 years, we're like this empty program, and we're being programmed through society, through parents, through everything that we do to get
mhm.
us ready to go into society. And then, as Jung would say, get a strong ego and then break it down. And it's like, so I've spent all this time creating a really strong ego, being self sufficient, high, as self esteem. And then I can break it down now. And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, that's right. So you can become authentic.
Totally. I'm glad you mentioned Carl Jung because he's one of my favorite. Well, he's no longer with us, of course, but one of my favorite humans that has lived. And he's also a Leo like me, but that's not totally why.
Ah.
Uh, his work is highly influential in evolutionary astrology. He himself was an astrologer, little known facts. And I really admire him. And a lot of, if not all of this work that I do is really centered around a lot of what he taught. So I'm glad you mentioned him.
That's amazing. I wasn't aware that he was into astrology, because when I
Yeah.
did transpersonal counseling, it was all about the archetypes and,
Hmm.
all about the structure that's also around you. Whereas, psychology is like clinical, behavioral,
Hmm.
everything is streamlined. There's no such thing as a complete
Hmm.
mushroom, so to speak.
Right.
So, how do you see astrology and authenticity? Like, where do the two come together? Do they meet? Does astrology help us get into it?
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what it's really all about at the end of the day. I mean, there's a lot that it's about, but it really is in looking at the chart, learning and understanding how to be your truly most deeply authentic self, because it really is a roadmap, essentially, of who you are, what you're up against, what you're moving through at any given time throughout your life. And even what, Jung spoke about the ego was, I think, very related to your sun sign, because that's really what your sun sign represents. Because if you think about it, the ego is like, who am I? What's my position in this world? And how am I asserting it? And it's very me dominant. And the sun sign is the biggest body in our solar system. Everything revolves around it. So in an egotistical way, you could say the sun is associated with the ego, basically. And so I think there's a lot of ways we can look at what's in our chart to, again, deeply understand ourselves, which inevitably leads to an authentic way of life.
It's interesting because you're talking about the sun and being authentic. That, I guess, also works into the consciousness, who we are, because that's a conscious state of being.
Right.
And with all the solar flares that we've been having, it's actually creating chaos
Mm-hmm.
within our own consciousness at the moment. It's like we're in one direction, then we're in the other direction. It just seems to be so dynamic what's happening right now. So, how
Mm-hmm.
does, like you said, it's like the river of life where it's all these flows that
Mm-hmm.
we're getting into it. So, how does it help us navigate all?
Yeah.
I mean, is this shown in our chart?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to do a real world example, maybe even as well. A little live reading for you. But yeah, I mean, again, it's really a way to look at what's moving through you because each planetary body, let me back up a second. I like to equate it to the fact that we have gravity here on Earth, and we as Earth beings can be on this planet because we are positively, for the most part, affected by gravity. And so we are built to be on this planet, and there's certain forces that we understand about this planet because we're here and we can study them. There is so much that we do not know about the world beyond our own, and within our universe, not to mention the trillions of other universes there are. Who are we to say, honestly, that there aren't these other forces that equally emit their energetic frequencies, whatever they may be, out into the solar system? And so it really is this like triangulation of how much, I guess, maybe like velocity or frequency those planetary forces have based on the exact position and time of your birth. So again, it's very triangulated. There's a lot of like geometry involved. Um, so on that note, would this be a good time to maybe look at your chart, or should we save
Oh, put me on the spot. Let
it to
me
it?
well see my quirkiness.
Definitely. Well, I won't pull it up on my screen, but I definitely have it behind the scenes on my own. So I'll send you some imagery after so you can get a
Ooh,
visual. I know it's a lot
okay.
of information at once, but let me look into my crystal ball for a moment. Oh, I love this. Okay, so you and I, this makes so much sense. You and I both have Capricorn moons, and yours is very close to mine. So when I mentioned a minute ago that geometry is really involved in astrology, and this is some astrology 101, so it's important to note that there are 30 degrees in every sign. And so planets, as they're orbiting our solar system, are essentially inching through each of those degree points as they orbit. And so again, everything is very measured, and every planet is going to be, or not just planets, but asteroids and bodies and these things that we're analyzing and assigning meaning to, they're all going to be sitting at a certain degree point. And so based on those degree points, again, where they are in their orbit is those positions form the aspects that are, if you ever look at the chart, and I know you can't see it, but when all the crazy lines in the middle, there's like blue and green and red, and you're like, what? So those are the aspects, which are essentially angles between the planetary bodies. And so different degrees of aspect represent different types of experiences. And then when you factor in the planets involved in those aspects, that's where the layers start to really get peeled back. So yeah, it can get pretty, I don't want to say dense because I love it, but there's a lot to unpack. So I'll try to keep it high level, but suffice it to say that your moon is at 3 degrees Capricorn and mine is at 0 degrees. So we would call, so yeah, they're close. We would call that a conjunction when two planets are conjunct together. And this is a powerful blend of energies and synergy. It could technically go either way. I do like to always say that there's neither good nor bad in astrology because there's no good nor bad really in reality, just the meaning we assign. But yes, conjunctions are essentially like a confluence of energy and a blend. And really it speaks to alignment because if you have things in the same sign and at the same place, there's going to be harmony no matter what. And your moon, or everyone's moon, speaks to your inner world and your emotions and what really matters to you and what makes you feel most safe and secure. And so, I mean, again, there's a lot to say about every planet and every aspect and every sign, but Capricorn's very much care, and I said this when we were chatting about me in the beginning, so I'm glad I mentioned that randomly. That wasn't random. But yeah, it's really about creating and creating an impact, and there's a lot of like tradition and wisdom and legacy involved with Capricorn. And I get definitely get that vibe from you. Like you have so much knowledge and like you're sharing it from a place of wanting to make an impact and be of service to the world. And so that's like Capricorn's here to basically do something and make it count. And they won't stop until they do that. So does that kind of resonate a little bit, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm still trying.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing is it never stops. As a funny other example that happened today with Capricorn, a colleague of mine, she just had a child and she's still
Oh,
like checking in unasked, like no one's asking for her help. And she'll be like, hey, like, here's this answer. And we're like, today I've been working with her for about a month and a half. And today I go, are you a Capricorn? And she goes, how did you know? It's like, well, you had a baby like a week and a half ago and you refuse to put your work away. And like, granted, like, I do kind of need her support, so I see where it's coming from. And I definitely told the team yesterday that she needs a raise. But it's just so funny and so true. And I was like, I had it. Like that was the sign that I had was like she won't stop. Like she just brought a life into this world. Because that's the thing is Capricorn is the opposite of Cancer. Cancer is very home and motherly and nesting and nurturing and like outside of, excuse me, like in more internal, not in the world, so like away from the world. Whereas Capricorn is who am I in the world and what do people know me for? So there's definitely a contrast. So anyways, Capricorn is a part of your journey.
oh, well, there you go, which makes sense.
Yep, definitely. I'd love to, let me see, anything else that stands out to me. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, so I'll try to pinpoint it. But one thing that I will say that's culminating, so this is good to be aware of because it ends well, where you are, probably June 30th, actually. But Jupiter has been transiting through Cancer since basically since early 2025 ish. And Jupiter is about expansion, abundance, blessings, good fortune. We love Jupiter. It's really, I know I said before there's no good or bad and there's no best worst, but if there was, Jupiter would be the best. Because it really is about finding your bigness and your like most jovial and jubilant and joyful expression. Like Jupiter just really is about growth and wisdom. So if Jupiter is transiting in the sign that you have a planet in your chart, it amplifies that energy. And so it's great. We love it. So for you, you have your Mars in Cancer, which also I think makes so much sense for a lot of reasons. Cancer really cares about care and compassion and empathy and healing and like emotions. It's a water sign. And Mars speaks to how you move through the world and what your like flavor of drive really is. And also your flavor of aggression. I will say Cancer Mars are known to be a little bit, and by a little, I mean a lot, passive aggressive. So I don't know. You don't strike me as that. And again, we're multidimensional, but that could be something you might have dealt with.
Yes, in the past, but
Mhm.
I'm, you know,
You're
when things
evolved.
come up, you
Yes.
think, nah, that's
Yeah.
not me. No more.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It's all part of the journey.
Yeah.
But essentially, with Jupiter moving through Cancer for you, or well, Cancer and thus your Mars, I'd say this last again since 2025 early to mid has been a period of expanding how you're moving through the world, which I think makes sense also given that we're having this conversation together, that you've been working on all these things that you're working on in the world. And so it really has been an amplification of your ability to move and heal and connect with people on these like deeply emotional layers. And the other thing I love about it, and this is a good also Astro 101, is that this has been happening in your third house. So each part of the chart is relegated to a house, and each house represents an area of life. And so the third house is about communication and ideas and what you know. So this transit has been activating that energy for you, meaning you're speaking and teaching and sharing and writing and literally doing the things that you've definitely been doing. So you're right on time. It's really great. And so this period of that expansion and blessing and abundance sort of technically comes to an end for you, like I said, on June 30th. But yeah, it was a good run for sure.
Right. So my run's about to be done.
Well, but then there's other things. So, we'll talk again in a month and we'll see where things are at. But Jupiter contacts to your natal planets are like chef's kiss experiences for you.
Well, it definitely has been very good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It
You're very
definitely
welcome.
magnifies, and it also gives me that positivity of what I've been doing is what,
Affirmation.
yeah, thank you. An affirmation of what I've been doing is actually
Mhm.
on my chart.
Yeah.
So if
Because sometimes,
that's what, it's almost like I'm naked here. Oh,
yeah,
this is what we've been doing.
right.
So is this part of our, like, our soul lessons or our soul's agreement that we've come here
Mhm,
to do, all the
mhm,
things that we've learned in the past? Because
right.
if you believe that our soul just continues on, then this is lessons that we've been bringing
Mhm, mhm,
forward in order for this life to be right here, right now.
mhm.
So do we bring them forward? Is that, part of our agreements that our astrology is saying, woo, look at this?
Yeah, for sure. There's a book that I read, independent of astrology. I have a cousin who I love. Shout out to Erin. She's not even on social media, but still, she deserves some credit. She has always sent me she's like dropped so many books on me over the years, and one of them was Journey of Souls. Have you read it? Have I asked you about
Yes, I
this?
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was before, I mean, I've always really been into astrology, but when I read this, I wasn't deeply into it yet. And it just really resonated with me right away. And as somebody who grew up in the Bible Belt of the South in America and lived and grew up right across the street from the pastor of the megachurch in my neighborhood, in my city, like I have so many touch points with Christianity and later, getting away from that and finding my own path to spirituality. But I think what really resonated with me from Journey of Souls is that we exist in as souls here on this earth, and the body is the flesh and all that, and the vessel, but ultimately that we have these soul families and soul clusters. I mean, you can really assign any name, but there's these beings that we engage with throughout lifetimes, and we stay a part of the same cluster essentially, and then throughout lifetimes we show up in different forms. So like for instance, somebody in this lifetime could be your father, but in the next lifetime or maybe a previous, like you were the parent. And I absolutely know that was the case for me and my parents, given the dynamic in this lifetime. So we play different roles, and we come into each other's lives at different times based on our needs. Like I said in the beginning, when the student is ready, the soul appears, basically the soul family contact appears. And so yeah, I think the chart definitely speaks to how and when those contacts come into our existence. And that's why, of all the modalities, including I Ching and even tarot, astrology is the most precise, because again, it's based on those degree points, and the degrees are based on timing. And so when you're looking at when is something going to happen, well, let's look at the transits, which is what I was just doing for you with the Jupiter activation
Mm.
of your Mars. So yeah, the soul contracts are really laid out. And I think you asked about, do we carry things with us? And there's definitely at least one, if not multiple, karmic placements for sure. But to keep it simple for now, the South Node is really the strongest point of karmic contact in our chart, and it represents what we have mastered in previous lifetimes. And so it really is our comfort zone and what we were already naturally gifted at, because we did it basically. And so in this lifetime, we lean towards that energy, but when we do that, we're not evolving, because again, we've been there, done that. And so what we're really called to do in this lifetime is the polarity of that energy, which is the North Node. And so the North and the South Node are basically they're called the nodes of fate. And they're nodes because they're actually points along the moon's orbit. So they're not planets. But they're really this like compass. Like, what is your like leaving behind point, the southern tip, and then what are you leaning towards, which is the northern tip. So that's a huge indicator of karmic contacts from past life, or what we bring into this lifetime from that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, the biology of belief that was written by Dr. Bruce Lipton, he tells us that the way we think is what happens to us.
Yeah.
That, it's only 15% of our genes that we're
Hmm.
likely that we inherit. The
Right.
rest of it is what happens in our head. through
Mhm.
stress, we release hormones, and all of it basically stems from the head. And then they found that there is a lot of memory cells in the heart, and that the heart talks to
Mhm.
the brain more than the brain talks to the heart. When the astronauts went up in space, they didn't have the toric field, the magnetic field that we have when we're here on Earth. So the gravity that also keeps us here and the toric field keeps us healthy.
Mhm.
So that's why now there is so much more information regarding what happens within all this energy that we can't see, and the frequency has
Mhm.
been as a result of what people have done in the past and what illnesses, and like when they go up in space, all their muscles atrophiate, A,
Mhm.
because of gravity.
Mhm.
But there is a whole lot of other things that happen, which is incredible. So do you think by having your chart done that you're more likely to change the way you think, or to look at things differently or more openly?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when we were chatting about yours for that minute, it gives so much affirmation and validation. And I think in a world where there's so many choices and so many paths, and we can see everything in our pockets at the, pulling out our screens, that it can feel really confusing to know if you've made the right decision or not. And,
Mm,
or at least me, I mean, I'm definitely an overthinker. And so I think with astrology, yeah, it can definitely give you a frame of reference to work with, and exponentially more self-understanding than, again, any modality that I've come across. And I've done therapy for years and different periods for different reasons, and then just kept doing it because I liked it. And I think it's a really valuable tool, and everyone should honestly be required to go to therapy. But that's a different conversation. But what I actually was doing research before I started my business because I was just curious what other people were doing, interconnecting therapy with astrology. And this one woman who had been a psychologist her whole career, she really loved working with people's charts if they were open to it. And she said that she felt that essentially what you can accomplish with one astrology session would take about 5 years at least in therapy. Because, I mean, it's a generalization, of course, and not to diminish
mm,
any practice as one's more valuable or beneficial, but I think there's different formats, of course. And in a way, astrology is a bit, I guess, like prescriptive, and sometimes I think people don't like that because they don't like being told who or what they are, and they think it's
mm,
very didactic and like in a box. But if you actually know how to read the chart, it's infinite the amount you can. I mean, like I am learning new things still from asteroids and aspect patterns and like just crazy stuff. It's never ending. So I think, as they say, knowledge is power. And so the more you can learn to interpret and follow along with, I mean, honestly, it's definitely a practice you just have to kind of believe through doing. And I have multiple clients who have told me that I've been working with for multiple years, who have moved through many life changes based on what we've uncovered. And they've told me, multiple people, that every time, I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating when they said every, but a lot of the time, at least, if not every time. I think one of them said the word every, at least. Um, when I say something will happen, it does on that exact day. And it's like because it's so precise and we're measuring those degree points, and it's really based on the orbiting bodies. And again, those influences impacting us as like human physical vessels. And so when we can orient our thinking to a
mm.
more positive self-awareness and self-understanding of, and an understanding of others in our path, yeah, we can shift our beliefs and the way we think about it, and then that just changes everything in our bodies.
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you think that when they have their chart done, it's almost like a rebirth? It allows them to see things in a different light. And it's like, when you start a new book and you open the page and you think, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like now.
Yeah.
You don't leave the past behind. The past comes with you, but you
Hmm.
may see it in a different light,
Yeah.
because all the things that happen, whether it's been the death of a loved one, or an abrupt ending to something, or a new opportunity that takes you to a different state,
Hmm.
that it's like one of those aha moments.
Hmm.
We have so many births and deaths daily.
Right.
whether it be, I don't know, something that we can no longer eat
Mhm.
because we're allergic to it. I mean, so many people go, "Oh no, I'm lactose intolerant. I can't eat cheese."
Right.
It's like,
That's grief.
it's a grief,
That's lifelong
exactly.
grief.
Yeah, it's a sorrow that comes into it. So when we're blending all of this together, how do you see it as life and rebirth?
Yeah, no, that's a great, beautiful question. I definitely have a few thoughts. I mean, I think that when we can really understand ourselves, then it's, I mean, what you were speaking about to me sounds like integration and integrating our past and the parts of us we'd rather avoid. And so, I mean, I think the term integration can get thrown around a lot, but I think it really means, like you said, like bringing the past and our experiences overall into our present moment and not letting them totally dictate how we respond to life now. And really like I think integration, there's a lot of like acceptance involved. And so I think with looking at the chart, you can gain that acceptance. And like honestly, like as a Capricorn dominant person, I have been through some shit and I am going through some stuff now. And it's honest, I mean, I'm not saying that without this practice I wouldn't still be here. It's a little dramatic, but like based on what I've moved through and how I've been able to every step of the way use the astrology to guide myself and my intuition, of course. But again, sometimes like you don't, it's hard to know if your intuition is making the right decision because of the past experiences and the judgments and the shame and the guilt and the regret. And so when you can have a map, like a literal map, and just be like, okay, and basically watch and see and just let it happen the way that it pretty much says it will. Um, it's astounding. It really is. So, yeah, I think in that sense, it gives you like a new set of eyes, like a new lens and a lease on life, which to me is a rebirth. And I think this would be a nice segue because really if I could say one thing ever is that I totally, wish, I don't want to say that I have regrets, but if I ever were to have one in life, it would be this. And I'm okay to have this one because I believe I can use it for the good, the greater good. But, I think people who are moving through things in life that again are challenging or they're getting in their own way and they're trying up a hill that's just not getting them anywhere, if they could look at what's going on and not only understand their natal disposition but also again the transits that are activating, because sometimes they can be very destabilizing and you really do think you're doomed and that the world's against you and it's never going to work. But really, if you just had that timeline and you knew you just needed to wait till after like February 25th until your partner was going to stop being a raging asshole, and it in fact happens. I'm serious. I like, if it weren't for astrology I would be single right now. But there have been times that I've been able to be like, I can understand, I don't like or accept it, but I might have to accept that this is happening. And so again, like I just think that if people who are struggling could use this knowledge, then it would prevent a lot of pain and sorrow, whether that be physical and emotional. Because yeah, and I think grief is a big topic of your work, of course, and even my work. And on my business card and in my email signature, I call myself a transformation doula because it really is about moving through those portals of death and rebirth. And like you said, having those moments of like totally new understanding and direction, possibly. And so being called into those moments of change takes a lot of guts and a lot of strength and confidence, and it's not always easy to get there. So if I could prevent anyone from suffering by not knowing this knowledge, then I would like to, because yeah, unfortunately I wasn't really able to do that for somebody really important to me, and I think it would have made a difference. And I think rather than the inevitable death that came as a result of not really knowing what he was being called to move through, I mean, I'm not, yeah, I don't know, I think it can really prevent a lot of things, or at least give you a perspective that gives you a different approach to things, and who knows what can happen from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult because the way that we're taught from a very early age, especially from a Catholic perspective, is if you're good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell.
Hmm.
Like that was drummed into me from the time I was very young. And I kept saying, but religion is done by humans.
Hmm.
I mean, what gives them the right to tell
Hmm.
you what's going to happen? How do they know? They're still here with us.
Hmm.
There's a lot of goodness in religion because whether you call it religion, spirituality, something that's much higher than us,
Mm-hmm.
it's huge. So we were always taught to bury things like, come on, stiff upper lip, get on with it. Like, you've had long enough, now go and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, life continues. It's time for
Mm-hmm.
you to get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we can understand some of those nuances that we're going through, and that it doesn't have to be the ultimate death of a human, that
Mm-hmm.
we've got all these accumulated endings, and that the way that we respond to them is helps us towards, the more difficult deaths that we have,
Mm-hmm.
especially the loved ones. Like, my mother passed 3 years ago. I mean, I'm still talking to her.
Mm-hmm. As you should.
Absolutely. And then I'll explain some of the things that have happened since her death that have been most interesting. But no, like you were saying, knowing your chart may assist you navigate through it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, if we knew, would we have done things differently?
Right.
And would it have helped our own soul's journey? Because they say that the souls that we travel with are the ones that teach us the most difficult lessons.
For sure.
So, how do you see it? How do you put the two together and make it flow?
Yeah, totally. Well, I'd be curious too. I don't know, I'm getting an intuition to give maybe another direct example for you of a more of a relevant, maybe more challenging transit. Because the Jupiter one I mentioned for you is exciting and relevant, but when we're speaking of the karma and the lessons, and it's just fun to talk about astrology, that's why I'm here. So Saturn in your chart, or anyone's chart, speaks to, among other themes, the lessons that you're experiencing. So wherever Saturn moves throughout your houses is the part of your life that's going to go through the most change, the most like resetting of the foundations. So Saturn's ruled by Capricorn, which is what we talked about in the beginning. So structure, materialism. Saturn rules time, so it wants to build things that last. Hence why where Saturn moves through your chart, it's going to strip away the unstable foundations so that you can build something that is more for you for the longer haul. So that's also why Saturn transits are the most painful, because they force a lot of reckoning and a lot of stripping away. So much I could say about Saturn. I love Saturn. I have a Saturn sigil tattoo right here in order to, this is the ancient, it's up, diagonal, but to really activate the Saturn archetype, because I'm ruled by Saturn, being Capricorn rising. And anyways, I love Saturn, but he is tough. So this is especially relevant for you. Speaking of degree points, so your rising is in Aries. You didn't know that, did you? Nice. You're a go-getter, you're entrepreneurial, you probably don't really like being told what to do, you're headstrong, you're direct, but like you like to start things. You're a creator for sure. You probably have like many things that you like to do at once too. Um, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that Saturn right now is transiting at the exact degree of your rising, 13 degrees of Aries. And so this, I mean, since February 13th, I think is when it shifted. This year is when Saturn was activating this part of your chart, because that's when it moved into Aries. But right now, especially, I don't know exactly, well, I could look to see when it'll shift, but Saturn takes a couple days to go through the degrees. But right now, it's peaking, which is why I'm bringing it up too. Even though Jupiter's been expanding your Mars and you're teaching and you're speaking and you're sharing, there has simultaneously, and this is why it's important to pay attention to all the things in your chart, because just because one thing is happening, don't get carried away. There's a lot to analyze. So simultaneously, there's definitely been possibly, I mean, you can tell me if I'm correct or on the right nose, but like a big shift in your path and who you are and how you present yourself to the world.
Yes.
But in a way that, again, because it's Saturn, yes, it might feel like a loss and a death of your identity and a death of a direction that you thought you were heading in. But it's because you're going to build something back up that's way more aligned with your highest mastery and basically like your highest path, because it's your first house, and your first house is your life path, and like where you're headed. So it's definitely like a mastery transit, and you're through, I don't want to say you're through the hardest part necessarily, but
I wish.
it's definitely like it's going on. It's going on. Now I'm just so curious because it's always so funny to me when I feel it's like a little cosmic nudge when I connect with people and I get to share some of this. There's always like on the day that we meet a very relevant alignment. And so yeah, this one feels
Mm,
like the one. And it looks
that's
like
great.
it's gonna last. It's gonna still be peaking for like at least like maybe a week. So keep riding the waves and embrace any shifts or opportunities to level up, because you're being very
Mm.
supported in doing so.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, because as I said before, I did Chinese medicine,
Mhm.
and I don't know if I want to keep practicing as a Chinese medicine practitioner, but I'm definitely I'll continue to dabble in it because there are so many levels of it. So
Mhm.
yes.
Always more
Yeah,
to
no.
explore. But yeah, I think that's a good example of how some of our more challenging moments and karmic
Mm.
opportunities can present themselves. Other people can, of course, have other more challenging opportunities being presented, and there's no real like death transit. I mean, Pluto in a chart does technically represent death, but that often can be a death of, again, identity or a structure or a system
Mm.
or a career or a relationship. Um, but yeah, I mean, again, as a segue, and I guess there's no point in beating around the bush because I do want to talk about it. But my father recently passed away very unexpectedly. And in
Oh.
looking, I know, thank you, still weeping all the time every day. I was like showering before this and like starting to cry. I'm like, nope, you can't look like you're sad on camera. Um, but anyways, he had a lot of really interesting karmic transits going down. And again, not to say that if I had showed him that I could be like, Dad, are you gonna die? Like, no, of course not. But just to on an emotional level, and what you were touching on earlier with like heart magnetism and coherence and like everything being connected, right? And I just know based on my conversations with him just before he passed and looking at his chart, both the transits and his natal alignments, like he was absolutely going through a karmic crossroads. And there's this expression I learned recently: the cobbler's children have no shoes, because unfortunately, I just never really looked at my own father's chart because I'm out here doing it for so many other people. And we have different relationships with our family, of course, and sometimes don't want to push too much or try to change them when we just at certain points in our lives have realized that's probably not going to happen. But regardless, I think there's a lot we can see that can, as you said, help guide our decisions, and then just create so much more ease in the body. Like if we can trust and believe that what we're doing is aligned with our truth and aligned with what wants to come through us, then we can just totally relax, and we don't have to feel like we're fighting upstream or just like going through so much stress. I mean, basic like straight up stress killed my dad. Like he was just dealing with a lot and not prioritizing his health. I mean, it's just unfortunately a tale as old as time, really. Um, and definitely he was going through a lot of emotional challenges, and that those were more indicated in his birth chart, and that's definitely the thing that I wish I had dove into with him, because he was just constantly at an emotional crossroads my entire life, within his own relationships, and it basically cost him. And yeah, so it's now my mission to share this knowledge as far and wide as possible to ideally prevent, as we're saying, people from feeling lost, feeling like they want to give up. I mean, he passed of a heart attack, but I feel like in a way there was like on a soul level, it was just like he needed that release. As like sad as that is to acknowledge or even say out loud, it's like, damn, sometimes when your soul doesn't have that ability to resonate or connect or clear the karmic and chakra field, like it just gets clogged with density, and all the negative emotions create like muck in our system. And so I think with this body of knowledge, we're really able to like polish our own mirror and really see what's there and be able to integrate it and bring it forward.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Well, thank you for sharing that because, losing someone and so recently, it makes it,
Yeah.
it tugs at the heartstrings, especially I don't know, father-daughter relationships.
I
They're,
know. I was the eldest too.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday was actually the 3-month death anniversary, as I'm humbly calling it. But yeah, I did think this is another good segue because I know we wanted to touch on, connecting post physical reality. Because now that's something that I'm so open to, of course, have to be. And yeah, yesterday I did a mediumship session, which was really interesting. I had never really
Yeah.
done that before. Have you ever engaged with something like that?
Right. So, how do you think having done the mediumship helped? Did it bring him across? Did it what?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right away, she gave a couple signifiers that the first one, like, maybe could have been general enough, but it still was like the one thing that I would associate with my dad, and just it was basically cars. But like, okay, sure, he's a dad, cars, and not that I'm a skeptic, but I'm a realist. But then she also said she was seeing fishing, which I was like, my dad didn't really fish. But then she said, wait, no, it's actually one of those like dancing like bass, like a billy mouth bass. The ones you probably don't have those in South Africa, but they're these dumb, like plastic taxidermy looking like bass fish, and you press a button,
Yes,
they dance. They're so silly. They're
I
like,
have. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay. I think they're from the 70s and they were like a whole shtick or something. But the crazy thing is my grandpa, my dad's dad, has one, and I just got somatic confirmation as I said that. My grandpa, first of all, his name is Billy. It's William. Second of all, he has one of those fish right outside my bedroom window in their house. And I was like, okay, you have my attention. And in the session, we were trying to keep it like open in terms of like, I didn't ask her or tell her who I wanted to connect with. It was more like she was going to open up and let me know what was coming through. And then we'd be able to tell who it was. And like, again, right away, of course, it was him. And so, yeah, I mean, there was so much that came through. And my biggest takeaway, which honestly was exactly what I needed, not what I would have maybe thought. I mean, I didn't really have any strict preconceived notions, but it was really he was reflecting back memories from my childhood. And like things that we did together. And she even said before she started to share more, she was like, I'm getting a sense of like you're in a time. She's like, maybe you are an only child or not. Again, I gave her no context of my life. And at first I was like, well, I do have a younger brother, so that feels off. I didn't say that right away. I wanted to see where she was going with it. But then afterwards, and as we went through things, it dawned on me that all the memories that were coming through were from when I was an only child because me and my brother are 6 years apart. And that was when it was just me and my dad. And he was a stay-at-home dad during that time.
Mm.
And I had made kind of like not an intentionally mean, but like a comment, an offhand remark in relation to something else before he passed in a text message to him and my grandpa that like I didn't really have a lot of memories from childhood, which is kind of for the most part true, just based on conditioning since a young age and unfortunately all the karmic weight that I've been carrying and dealing with. And so yeah, I just really feel like that was him being like, remember this time when you were an only child and it was just me and you and we were doing all these things together. And like it was just so sweet and so touching. And then she concluded with bringing up a butterfly, which has been a theme since he passed. And so but butterflies could be common and a symbol of transformation, but she said, I was expecting her to say maybe yellow butterfly because that's been the actual physical representation in the world, specifically when I was home in Georgia and at his gravesite. But she said it's actually a rainbow butterfly, like in all these colors. And I immediately started crying because I put a rainbow butterfly in his casket.
Oh,
Like one of
wow.
those taxidermy butterflies, which is just
Yeah.
a random story of how I had an extra one, but it was a very meaningful butterfly that was associated with my name and like all these things. And so when she said that, I was like, okay, we can end here because that's actually crazy. And she was really like we talked for over an hour, so a lot was coming through, and towards the end she's like, trying to tap back in, and you never want to overdo it. You can't be greedy with the spirits, right? Um, but that was like the last thing that she really like tapped in to receive, and I was like, wow, that's so profound. And the last thing I'll say about that is that then it was either later that night or even like this morning, I realized, no, it was definitely the next day, that when I was very young, my dad, I don't know if you know the song Butterfly Kisses. Does that ring a bell? It was like a 90s song, but it's where you like bat your lashes against somebody. It's like,
Oh,
and me and my dad used to love that song and we would do it to each other. And I like actually forgot about that until like literally last night. So yeah, it's just the whole butterfly thing was just like so even more meaningful than I even realized when I put it there 3 months ago. So yeah, he was coming through. It's out, no doubt in my mind. Those were not generic statements.
that's amazing. And I mean, did it make you more peaceful?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely got me excited and like happy. And obviously, I felt very connected. And as a spiritual person myself, I'm really wanting to open up more to these kinds of connections and experiences and to really be a channel and a vessel. And again, when the student is ready, your dad dies, I guess. No, not to be dark, but like I had gotten all of these books in the past about, or in the recent past about channeling and psychic energy. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Jane Roberts, but she was like a big like verbal channel in like the 70s. She kind of is like the mother of like psychic mediumship, basically. I actually think I was her in a past life, but that's another topic for another day. I mean, it's related to astrology. Basically, our charts are just like so interlocked. I'm like, whoa. So these are things that I was already looking into like 6 months ago, but just didn't really feel ready to sink into. And so that's why I say when the student is ready, your dad dies. Because now I'm like, all right, let's make me a channel. Okay, I gotta talk to my dad. So I mean, I'm obviously being kind of trying to be funny. It's not funny, but it's true. And I feel more open now.
Yeah, I always feel that people die or they get illness what they find to be most important in life or what they struggle with, like your
Mm,
dad with the heart and
yeah,
relationships. That to
exactly.
me seems to be
Oh,
a friend of mine. His mother died also of a heart attack, but
mm,
she gave so much of her heart that it was
yeah,
just overflowing, so full
yeah.
that it's just, yeah, I find that really interesting when those
Mhm.
connections happen. But
Exactly.
yeah, like that's why I wrote consciousness and grief, or grief and consciousness module, because by us being aware what happens and how things get stuck in our body, we
Mhm,
may process it mentally. Oh, yeah, I know all about it. Yeah, it wasn't a great relationship and blah, blah, blah. But it seems to get stuck in their heart because it's
mhm,
about love, it's about, giving and all of it. And so by knowing where it's coming from, we may be able to, well, we can navigate through it and see life in a different way. And again,
mhm.
change our biology of belief. And
100%.
so, but they say that the day we're born is the day we know when we're going to die. Like the whole thing has been mapped out. And obviously, through astrology, you can see how things traverse
Mhm,
through the whole of our life, and depending on the time and depending on the energy. I just get a sense that at the moment things are progressing so much faster. The energy is just so quickened that,
mhm,
does that make astrology more difficult, more dynamic, or it's still fairly constant because it's moving as we're moving with all this
mhm.
craziness, really?
Truly. Well, it's interesting because there are certain aspects of astrology that we didn't even discover until the last, 100 or so years. So there's certain planetary bodies that have been, given their title and all that and meaning in not ancient times. So I think to your point of, information evolving and new understanding coming through, I think, yeah, that's only inevitable. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because I love to talk about how this exact thing with Pluto, because Pluto was like downgraded from planet to dwarf
Yeah.
or something, which is so just because, okay, Pluto is death and rebirth. ego loss, like being stripped away of your sense of power. Pluto is power. And so for like any Plutonian experience is going to strip you of everything you thought you knew about yourself and in that area of life, depending on where it is in your chart. And so it is so perfect that Pluto, the actual body in our solar system, was stripped of its title, demoted, all of its power was taken away. It's crazy. It's so perfect. So, yes, these things will happen, but maybe that's just the way it's meant to be.
But isn't that interesting? Because I think that's the way that the world is heading. Like there is more power being stripped from those that are higher up,
Hmm.
so that more of the common people or more of the masses can actually ascend
Yeah.
and, you know,
Hmm.
become more conscious of everything that's around rather than being this 3D reality that
Hmm.
we understand as you want to, tap into and be more connected, which is where we're all heading, isn't it?
1,000,000%. I'm so glad you said that. Those were the most perfect keywords because there's a transit that we're about to also step into at the end of
Mm.
July with, and this relates to the North and South node that I was speaking to just a bit ago. So the North node is going to move into Aquarius, and which means that the South node is going to be moving into Leo. So the South node again is karmic release. What are we stepping away from? And Leo is leadership and also like celebrity status and fame and like idolizing people who have that celebrity status and that power and prestige, like Leo's royalty also. So I was predicting this before the year started that this, because of this transit, would be a year where we're going to see less emphasis on celebrities, heroes, leadership, people in power, and like that's what this whole year has been about. And on the flip side of that, the leaning edge where we're headed, we're being called to head, and it's challenging. That's the thing. Like you don't want to leave your comfort zone of the South Node, but you must in order to evolve. So like that's why it's like there's so much resistance to like releasing information and redacted files. It's like they're trying so hard to cling to their last vestiges of like security and status. But I'm telling you, I think by the end of July, we're going to see some big shifts because Pluto and Aquarius, and this transit happens, I think, like every like 15 years or so. Sometimes it all depends on like retrogrades and things, but roughly, this hasn't happened in a while. But it's a period of, I think the last time it happened was when Obama won the presidency. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. And either way, it's a time of hope and progress and leaning towards the future and really being people centered because Leo is individualistic. That's why the celebrity culture and royalty and leadership fits into Leo because it's like me. And then Aquarius is we and the collective and society and humanitarianism. So, yeah, we are really, obviously, we're always kind of leaning ideally towards that. But as one of my favorite Capricorns, Martin Luther King Jr., once said, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And so this next cycle, which again, like basically July 30th, probably for you, 31st, this transit will kick off and it'll last for about 18 months. So also we could expect some like serious revolutions because Aquarius energy is revolutionary. Pluto's also in Aquarius right now, which is a big deal because the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was the industrial French and American revolutions, also known as
Oh.
the Age of Enlightenment.
Yeah.
We can see a lot of similar threads now with AI and just even what you've been touching on about like our concepts of reality shifting majorly. And um,
Mm.
I'm really fascinated by a lot of the things that are being talked about right now with like dark matter and like particle accelerators. I've been getting like really into my science tip these last couple months and even like artificial and extra and interterrestrial beings and things and plasma bodies. Like there's basically so much that we do not know that if you look back to again the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, so pre-enlightenment era, we didn't know shit about anything in this reality. We thought the earth was flat, I'm pretty sure, until then, didn't we? I'm pretty sure that's when it shifted. Copernicus and all of this. Like that's where we're at right now and it's about to shift in a totally different way because that was then and like we're progressing, but that same level of like mind expansion, cultural expansion, social expansion, all through what we know and what we believe to be true is seriously underway. And I, again, think with this shift coming, moving away from celebrity and ego driven to more collectivism, humanitarian, science, innovation is going to be pretty sweet. That's why we incarnated here is to be a part of this time. So,
Yeah, I think it's a difficult time, but it's also a fun time. Like someone was saying that Edgar Casey, he was saying that we are now, most of the souls that are here now were when Jesus was here. So it's like we're bringing all this consciousness back with us to open up again.
I like
They're also saying that the pyramids are portals that allow you to transfer from here to anywhere galactically, that we were there and then we've lost it all.
that.
And we came back here because we said, oh, we want to spend more time in this 3D universe. We can feel so much. It's great to be human. Like
Mhm,
you can have sex whenever you want to. You can eat all these wonderful things, and they're all pleasures of the body. But
mhm,
there's more to it than
mhm,
this.
mhm,
So we've been so stuck, and it's like fear based
yeah,
and, control. And
mhm,
therefore, we're not who we are, but we're opening up to who we were,
mhm. I love that.
which, which is amazing. And so, therefore, people not need, but people may want to start connecting with their true self and
Mhm,
peeling some of the onion layers that we've allowed ourselves to get stuck into and program through,
yeah.
to realize that with people's help, we can take the glasses off, open our eyes, and then realize that we're the gurus of our own being.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, but when we're stuck in the mud before we become the lotus, we need someone
Mhm,
to show us and help us and give us that hand up so that
mhm,
we can,
mhm,
progress forward, being our own beings.
mhm,
And it's all these tools that give us that knowledge that we can start accumulating to move forward.
mhm.
And you
Absolutely.
think, oh, yeah.
Yeah, and one other, because again, I can never stop, but astrological connection to what you just said about new knowledge and new concepts. So, in relation to everything we've been talking about too, with science and innovation and thought and reality, a huge transit that happened in February, I'm forgetting the exact date, but Neptune and Saturn came together in Aries, and Neptune and Saturn come together every roughly 38 years. The last time it happened was when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union dissolved, which was obviously world changing events for society and every element of life. But the last time that Saturn and Neptune came together at this point in Aries, which was 0 degrees, back to the degrees, always back to the degrees. 0 degrees is the beginning of a sign. So it's the inception of that energy. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So Aries is rebirth, or not even rebirth. Aries is birth. It is literally the breath of life, the spark of creation, and I'm getting somatic confirmation. It's the 0 point. It's literally known as the 0 point, the Aries point, and it's super powerful. And so the last time this alignment at that exact degree point happened was like 6,000 years ago, which is actually when humanity's first like recordings of humanity, like humans began to record themselves 6,000 years ago, essentially. And so what I think is happening now with this aspect that just popped off again a few months ago is that our entire concept of who we are, why we're here, what we're here to share, do, and be, and how we relate to everything around us is literally getting a rebirth. Like we are at that Aries 0 point, life is blooming anew. Because as I mentioned, Saturn is foundations and structures and things that last. And Neptune, among other things, represents our ideals and what we believe to be true about our reality. And also, Neptune is very ethereal and connected to the beyond. So it's like bringing those themes, like, and giving structure to them, and like restructuring our ideals. So I'm excited, basically. Despite being in deep grief and crying all the time, I'm actually very excited for the era that we're living through and the knowledge that's going to continue to come forth.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It is the rebirth of so many things. And like you were saying, we are in grief for many things,
Yeah.
but they're the ones that have also assisted to open our eyes and to get some of those aha moments. Because you were saying that you did your dad's chart, and did that relieve some of the grief that you went through?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about relief because it's definitely still there, but I think it definitely framed it. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's more of like a guide for the grief, a grief guide. It's like you can not feel so like it took away the questioning, honestly. I have no questions. I have zero questions. I really feel like I understand. I mean, not to say I know everything. I don't mean like that sounds really arrogant, but like I have so much peace and understanding that I don't like, yes, of course I'm crying, but it's not like there's no bargaining. Like I get it. I actually completely understand why and when and how it all happened.
So it's almost like he gave you a push to be more authentic,
Mhm. Definitely.
to take that next step,
Mhm. Mhm.
because
Definitely.
now they're not there. I mean, there is one thing when they're here and you talk to them and you give them a hug, but when they're not here, you got to use different senses to
Yeah,
still communicate with them and have them as part of your life.
for sure. For sure. Yep.
As long as you don't get them stuck here, like
I know.
they
That's
can
what
go
I
off and do their own thing.
I know. I'm like, I don't want to be selfish. Like, you got to keep learning because you definitely didn't figure it out this lifetime. That's why you're not here. So I don't want to hold you back from that. So that is like the one dichotomy I'm like definitely still kind of trying to understand. Like, how do we stay connected, but I don't limit you from evolving as the soul that you're. I think maybe both can be true. Like, a piece of their soul stays with us, and then I don't know. I gotta. Well, I did just get somatic confirmation as I said that, so I guess maybe it's a little bit true, but definitely gonna be doing some more research on that specific element.
Yeah, which is fascinating. I mean, as I said before, my mother passed 3 years ago. My daughter has been living overseas for nearly 15 years. The likelihood of her coming back to Australia, I would have said it was zero. All of a sudden, December, she was back. 22nd of December. Through a whole lot of things that happened, they had to leave the States and now they're here. And it was like, I wouldn't have thought that was going to happen. My other daughter that lives in Brisbane, I thought she's never going to move from Brisbane, you know. Although she was born in Melbourne, she shifted up there and that was home. And a month ago, they moved down here. It was like there was a job opportunity, so that was it. So they moved. My mother always loved big families. So it's almost like my mother is gathering all my brood to come back
Mhm.
here.
Right? Yes. I mean, I fully believe that there's a greater ability from the other side to support and gather and like make things happen for us. And I also absolutely am going to believe that here on out because yeah, it just I think that's also part of why my dad left
Yeah.
this plane because he felt like he wasn't able to truly support and encourage and guide me in the way that he ultimately his soul wanted to just based on all the other karma that had accumulated for him. And so I think he felt on a spiritual level, I don't think this was conscious at all, that if I go over there, I can actually help her gain what she needs to gain. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to that materializing.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much in life that we don't know, but we are tapping into because of this acceleration and the
Mhm.
shift in consciousness. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 18 months brings.
Definitely will. We'll be
So
talking more in the meantime, I'm sure, and hopefully doing this again soon.
100% would love to have you back. So, what would you like to say as a leaving comment of our podcast
Mhm.
today to people listening to us?
Yeah, ooh, I love this. So I think that it's important to be open and be willing to understand, as we've said, that there are a lot of things that we don't understand. And so it's, yeah, I think really imperative to be willing to reflect and stay curious and be adaptable and open to change. Like life
Mm,
I love the quote, you can never step into the same river twice because
mm,
you are never the same person that you were. Like you're talking about death, your cells are dying every day, like your skin is shedding all the time. We are constantly regenerating. And so I think with that, as we evolve, it's important to be able to understand what we're being asked to evolve into and to have that sense of direction. And so the chart is the best tool that I found. I've studied so many different religious traditions and other things, and I mean, human design is also really great. I do love it. But if yeah, everything has its place. But yeah, I hope to be able to connect with more people and help them really understand their relationships better, themselves better, and how to make the decisions that are in the highest good for themselves and everyone around them is really what it comes down to.
Mm. No, that's great. Thank you. So it's about responsibility in the response.
Yes, I love that. Definitely.
So they can go from the mud to the lotus.
Exactly.
Lauren, thank you. It's been brilliant.
Yeah,
It was so much fun having you on.
thank
Thank you for
you.
your wonderful insights and
Sure.
keep smiling
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
because I'm sure your father would want to see the smile on your dial.
Thank you. Yes, no, thank you for this opportunity. You're such a magical being and so full of wisdom. So I'm truly
Oh,
honored and grateful that I had this to look forward to and to share about. So thank you for letting me do
me
so.
too.
Yes.
Lauren, all the very best.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste.